I'm doing an overnight brisket tonight, and I'm going to show you how I got everything set up. Got my 22-inch Weber Smoky Mountain, and on the inside I'm running a Firedial diffuser plate. So if you're not familiar with that, it's just got little cutouts all around to let some of the heat through, but it deflects a lot of it, and it diffuses the heat evenly through the cooker. I've got a mixture of lump and briquettes with some hickory and cherry underneath all that. And what I've done, I've left a little opening on this side. It may be hard to tell, but I've filled it up and then made a little void right here, and that's where I'm going to put my lit coals. And I'll show you that when I'm ready to fire it up. But I'm not gonna start it till later on this evening, probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then I'm just gonna let it cook about 225 all night long. And the last couple of briskets I've done has been 18 hours, almost to the minute. So I'm kind of expecting anywhere from 16 to 18 hours for the cook. So I'm hoping this lasts. I may have to fill this up a little more, but we'll see. And I've got my ThermoWorks Billows with my signals. So I've got it plugged in, and I've got this little silicone plug that came with it. And I bought this before they had the little adjustable damper. So I just cut a little half moon out and attached it with a rubber band. So that limits the air coming in, but it still is enough for the fan to function when it needs to. And I'm going to put this on the back side. So if you notice, the fan's going to be back here, and the lit coals are going to be furthest away from the fan. So I kind of do that on purpose. The fire will just work its way towards the fan. I don't want it right in the middle and the fan blowing right on it. I want the fire as far away from that fan as I can get it. And I try to put enough lit coals in here to get the temperature to where I want it very quickly, but not so many that I can't control it. So the idea is to get the smoker up to 225 as soon as I can, as quickly as I can. And I go ahead and put the meat in. So I'll put the brisket in, and then I'll dump the coals in, and I'll open up the vents and let the smoker quickly come up to temperature, and then close the vents down and stabilize it at 225 once I get close to the temperature. So I'm gonna set it all up and have it ready. So when we put it on, it'll be dark, so it might not be a lot to see putting the brisket on, but definitely in the morning between, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, it'll be ready to wrap. Alright, I'm out here at the smoker, just about ready to get everything on. I want to show you the brisket. I skin it a few little spots, taking the fat off, but skimmed it down a little bit. I did black pepper real coarse, and some moth trying to get on. Let's see with this light, and some kosher salt, and then some Lowry seasoned salt. So I did that on both sides. I'm going to cook it fat up, so I like the fat on the top with the bark on the fat. So that's the way I'm going to cook it. And inside the smoker, down on the second grate, I've got my Dutch oven, and I put my fat trimmings in there to make some tallow, and I'm going to put the brisket more on this side right here. So the brisket will be over here. Try to not get too many trimmings on that, dripping down on that. So just about got our lump is fired up, ready to go. So let me get the door ready. And I just usually use this as just kind of like a chute. And I just kind of get it down in that opening, and get it like that, and then pour my coals, use the door to pour my coals down in there. So that's how I do that. See if I can show that. So, yep, that looks good. So, and then I usually take my little poker in and get those arranged. So let me get that and I'll be right back. Alright, so I just kind of pull all these back into that area that I had left that little void. Just try to keep them right there together. So that's going to be good right there. So I've got all my vents opened up. I'll put my door on. Let me get my brisket on. So that's about how I got the brisket on. It might get a little bit of drippings down on it, but it'll be alright. I've got this moth is just loving this light. So I'm gonna have to close this up. But I'm going to get it up to 225, leave the vents totally open, and then once I get a little closer to the temp, then I'm going to turn the fan on. So I wait till I get the temperature where I want it and then do the fan. So probably come back in the morning once. So it's been about another 25 minutes, so I'd say about, I don't know, 35 minutes since I dumped the coals, and we're getting close to 225, so we're getting close enough to where I'm going to go ahead and turn the fan on, and then close off the bottom vents pretty low, and then cut back the top vent a little bit too. So I'm going to get the fan going and let it bring us up that last couple of two. So this thing's been running about an hour and a half, and so I am right on 250. That's my favorite place to smoke on this cooker. So when that top dial's at 250, you can see there's not a lot of smoke coming out of the top vent. So not a lot of thick, heavy smoke. There was a little bit on the startup, but it has settled down, and it smells great out here. So it's running good on the grate temperature. We've got 230. There we go, 230. So I'm just fine with that, and I'm gonna let it go. It's been pretty steady for a while, so I'm ready to go to bed. So I'm gonna let it cruise through the night, and if I get up any night, I'll just check my phone and see what the temperature is. But I like the way this is running right now. It's 250 on the dial. My dial works pretty good. Some people say that their dial is inaccurate, but when that thing's on 250, that's really where I want it to be. And but I guess some people's dials don't, the thermometer don't work right. But I'm on to bed, and we'll check it in the morning. So this is a look at the ThermalWorks app that comes with the signals and Billows fan. So this shows the graph of the times. So from when we put the brisket on up until about 2 a.m. The temperature rose on the brisket, then it stalled out from 2 a.m. till roughly about 5 a.m. and then it pushed through the stall after that point. So that orange line is the brisket and the green line is the smoker. So you can kind of see it stayed steady at about 225 for the first 12 hours. So now I'm about 14 and a half hours into the cook. I have not opened the smoker one time. We're sitting right on 250 at the dial. The Great temps 240. So I bumped it up a little bit from 225, but it rode 225 all night. So I haven't opened it a bit. So let's take a look at the brisket right quick. Oh yeah, it's looking great. Looking good. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap. We're sitting at 175, so I think it's a good time to wrap. So we're gonna wrap and get the tallow out and use the tallow in the wrap. And I've got some beans I'm gonna put on, and I'm gonna put the beans on the top rack so I can keep them stirred if I need to. And I'm gonna probably go ahead and add some coals to the bottom, and when I do that I'm gonna leave the top open while I wrap. So while I get everything together, that'll help some of those fresh unlit coals I add get started. So I'm going to show you where we're at on coals. It might not be real easy to see all that smoke coming out, but there are quite a few coals left after 14 and a half hours of cooking, but I do think it needs a little bit more. So I'm going to stir those to the back and add some fresh. I got the brisket wrapped and on the bottom shelf, and I've just left the bottom vents wide open, the top vent wide open, and added some coals. So I'm at 200 degrees. It's taken about 5 minutes to get there, so I wanted to come up a little bit. I'm gonna put my beans on. Got a pot of baked beans, so I've got these ready to go, and we'll just open up and take a look. I can't see too good, but I got it on the bottom shelf. And this is my camp oven, so I might have to do a little arranging, but that's going to be perfect right there. And put the lid on, let these smoke. I added a little bit of more smoke wood too, so the beans will get a little bit of smoke. And I'm going to get this temperature back up and let it cruise. Maybe hit it about 250 degrees on the rest of the way, because now that it's wrapped, I think it's alright to get the heat up a little bit. So we've got some rain moving in. You kind of see the drops coming down. We're up to 211 on the inside temp of the smoker. So I've got it set to 225, and I imagine that's going to overshoot by 20 degrees, so I figure it'll settle in at 245. I'm going to keep an eye on it from inside, and keep an eye on the temperature of the brisket. So once it gets close to 200, I'm gonna come out and start probing for tenderness. But I've closed the top down about half, and I've closed the bottom ones down to about half. So it's gonna get plenty of air while this rain moves through. It's gonna be quite a bit of rain, so I want the temperature to stay up. The rain will cool off the smoker a little bit, especially if it's a heavy rain. What it looks like it's fixing to be a pretty heavy rain. So probably won't last more than 30 minutes or so, but I'm gonna get in the house and let this thing work. So I pulled this brisket off the smoker right at 200 degrees, and the total cook time was 16 and a half hours. So the results were really good. I was really pleased with the end product, and had a really nice smoked flavor, and sliced up pretty good. The bottom had a little hard spot right there on the end, but other than that, it sliced up pretty good. Had a little tough spot on the side. This was a select brisket, so obviously not the best you can buy, but I was really happy with the results because it was really tender. The flat was really juicy, and the point side, it's hard to mess those up no matter what kind of brisket you buy. The point is usually always good, but this is a really good way to cook brisket. Low and slow. Take your time and cook it slow. Let it get through the stall, on past the stall before you wrap. Add some tallow to the wrap, and it just turns out good every time. It would have been even better if it had a little bit more tallow to the wrap. while it was resting. So I think the total rest time was about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I let it sit out on the stayed wrapped on the counter for probably about 20 minutes before I started slicing into it. So about 2.5 hours total rest time, I guess. Kept it in a cooler with some towels on it to rest it while we waited. So we took a plate to a couple in our church, one of the pastors in our church and his wife, and they were very appreciative of the meal. So we had, with the brisket, we had the beans that were smoked, and my wife made a potato salad and a homemade from scratch banana pudding. It's absolutely the best banana pudding ever. So we had a wonderful meal with this brisket and the sides, and of course we had some Texas toast. So we had some brisket sandwiches, and tomorrow we're gonna have leftovers. But I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.